Good morning, sweetheart, and I hope you're having a good day so far. I've got the day off, as you know, so here we are, almost 11:30 when I get started recording this, and I haven't done anything really today. I just laid around after I got Jacob to school. We were a few minutes late. Um, we ended up spending the whole night on the couch. We did our normal thing where we get on the couch for bedtime and let him watch his shows on TV and get snuggled up and let him get sleepy. And as frequently happens, we dozed off. And normally, I wake up a little later and I carry him to bed, right? Well, I don't know what he was trying to do, but he had a pretty good fall off the couch and hit the table on the way down. So, tears, upset, all that. I'm holding him, helping him calm down. Well, then he's wanting to lay on the couch and get under a blanket. I'm like, you know what? Whatever makes you feel better, whatever gets you calmed down. Because my fear was after that he's going to be up for a while. I didn't look at the time, but it seemed like it was probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning by this time. So anyway, he gets snuggled up and his eyes are open, but he's just, he wants that blanket on him. He just wants to be right there. I left him alone. I said, you know what? I'll lay down, you lay down. And we spent the rest of the night that way. So, woke up a little late, but we had a good morning together and got him to school, and he was in a good mood. So I guess that's all that matters, right? Um, while we were hanging out on the couch, before we fell asleep, I was doing a little Bible reading. Not heavy, but I was in Proverbs, looking through Proverbs chapter 11. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it's, you know, a good page or so. But anyway, at the very beginning, it's talking about the Lord detests the use of dishonest scales. How does he phrase it? But a just weight is his delight. And there's other places in Scripture, and I think there's even some places where Jesus talks about it, using an honest scale, because apparently that was a common thing at the time that traders and people, they'd have rigged scales and things were always in their favor. And that always makes me think about my dad because, you know, we try to have integrity, and that's being discussed right after that verse, talking about, having integrity. The righteous live with integrity. I want to do the right thing, but dang, I'm not going to let someone get the best of me, right? I'm not going to let them intentionally do me wrong, and I'm going to make sure I get what I'm supposed to get in whatever scenario, which probably isn't exactly the right way to handle that. My dad, though, will sometimes give people extra just to make sure they don't get shorted. Even when my parents got divorced, my mom's trying to go through and clean out everything she can. And they're having disagreements about who gets what, whatever. Now, you would think in the middle of a disagreement, with all the heat of stuff that's going on, the hurt, pain, anger, you wouldn't think that'd be the priority in his mind. They divided stuff up, and then he went and got some extra stuff and gave it to her. Said, I want to make sure that I haven't shorted you in some way. I feel like I'm giving you more than you should get, more than you deserve, but I would rather you get more than me somehow short you. And that's the kind of man he is. Um, Everyone's got flaws. I can tell you things from my childhood that I felt like my dad did wrong, temper, whatever. But as far as integrity, I don't think I've ever met anyone in my life with more integrity than my dad. So when I read things like that, I always use him as my model in my mind. Like that's what you strive to be like in your life. Um, and then it was funny as I was reading further down. Where is it? Verse 12. So in this translation it says, it is foolish to belittle one's neighbor. A sensible person keeps quiet. And I thought about you because we were talking about how people, well, usually it's online because people are braver and nasty online, right? But leaving comments, people just want to tear people down. They live for the negativity. And we were talking about that. It was yesterday. And so when I read that, I thought about you. Um, and then towards the end of the verse, I'm hitting the mic, sorry. I should slide back a little bit, or slide the mic back. There we go. Um, I should have looked up other translations. I feel like this is a weird way, or a very, not a weird way, a very, I feel like we rushed through the sentiment. But in verse 28, it says, "Trust in your money and down you go, but the godly flourish like leaves in spring." And I feel like that's a better, well, I don't know, better. I was talking recently about, um, having your trust in God instead of your money and taking care of yourself. And maybe trusting in money is a better way to phrase that. Because we were talking about you can't have two masters, and who are you going to serve? Do you feel like you need God, or are you coming to Him in need? So, when I read that about trust in your money, I was like, that's a better way to phrase what I was trying to talk about. But anyway, yeah, those were the three things from the chapter that kind of rattled around my brain a little bit. I thought I'd share with you. And then, yes, I do plan to watch Mike Tyson tonight. I've always been a fan of Mike Tyson. I remember as a kid, and I don't know how we watched it because I just can't imagine us having the money for pay-per-view. Like, we got by, but we didn't have money for extras. And I don't know when we got cable. Surely we had cable by this point. There's no way we were watching Mike Tyson fight without cable. But I remember watching some fights. Like, I remember watching Mike Tyson fight Evander Holyfield. That's the guy he bit his ear. I don't know how much you know about boxers, so. But yeah, watching him fight, and I was so impressed with him. Iron Mike. And there was a documentary, or not really a documentary. They made a movie out of his life, so that different actor playing him. But I was so fascinated with this story, how he came from this, poor neighborhood, came out of poverty, and he was basically going to be a street thug. But the guy who ended up being his trainer, I always struggle saying his name, Cus D'Amato, something like that, saw that spark in him, took him in, trained him, and turned him into a world champion. And then he's successful. He's got all this money, and he's got all these people coming after him, and they're just wanting to use him. They don't care about him. They're just using him. And there's depression, and he struggles in life. He loses most of his money. And then in his mature adult life, before that, I don't know if you know, he went to prison for a little while. He got out, and then he's still fighting hard, but you can see he's slowly changing. And like his last real fight, at the end, he was like, "I'm done. I'm sorry. I don't have this in my heart anymore. I don't want to do this. I'm just fighting to pay my bills. It's not my heart anymore. I'm sorry I've let everybody down, but I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm done." And that was so sad. Not sad like, oh, he's done, like I won't get to watch him anymore, but like seeing what he was going through, like he was hurt and broken in life. He didn't like what he was doing. He didn't like the people in his life that were surrounding him. He didn't feel like he had anything going for him. But he had so many expenses, he just kept putting himself through that just because he had to make the money. And for him on national TV to break down and say, "I'm sorry, this isn't in my heart. I'm sorry I've disappointed you all. I can't do this anymore." Like that was hard. But yeah, later in life, he basically ran through all his money. And there was an interview where someone was asking him how he was, and he said, "I'm happy." And they said, "Why are you happy?" He said, "Because I don't have any more money. I don't have people in my life. I don't have the vultures anymore. The people in my life, they're just coming from me, wanting stuff from me. No one's trying to use me anymore. I'm finally happy and at peace." I was like, man, that is such a paradigm shift, because everyone thinks, you're supposed to strive to be successful and make all the money and be rich, and then, life is great, which we obviously know is not the key to happiness. But for him to have that perspective shift, I was happy for him that he was able to see that. And now here he is, which honestly too old to be having a fight like this, but he has that spark again. He wants to get in the ring and have a match. And I hope he has one last bout. And it's almost like, I don't know if you've ever watched the Rocky movies, The Boxer. I've watched them all many, many times. I have them all on DVD. But the last one, he's been retired from boxing for years. And because of computer models and whatever, people get to talking about what if he had one last bout, and they think that he could have beat the current champion, which gets the current champion upset. So they end up having this one last bout because Rocky's got this spark inside that hasn't completely gone away. He wants to get in there and just have one last good fight. He's not even worried about winning. He just wants to have a good match. And I feel like this almost mirroring Mike Tyson now. It's like he's got that spark back. He got the a lot of the toxicity out of his life. He's happy because he was on drugs and drinking and was not training in any kind of way, fat. And he has turned his life around. He's got fit, and apparently he was lying to people and saying that he was sober and wasn't. And he came out and said, I'm 6 days sober. I don't know if you've seen that clip. But he said, I'm 6 days sober. I've been lying to people, but I've been sober for 6 days now, and I'm not touching it again. So I really hope he has just the fight of his life tonight. I can't wait to see it. I hope it goes well. Anyway, I've talked to you about Mike Tyson probably 3 or 4 minutes longer than you cared to hear, which I assume is how long I've been talking about him. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. I miss you a lot, and I can't wait to see you again. I love you. Bye.